All right, welcome everyone to this week's meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I am Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. And for the record, this is our 100th recorded meeting. I had to get that out. All right, before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank the LaJoie Start Southern New England chapter in Rhode Island. They have graciously donated a collection of books to the Springsteen Memorial Library to help us continue it in Art's memory. I'm going to be taking the trip down to North Attleboro tomorrow to pick up the collection, and I hope that Art is looking down and smiling on us today as we expand his posthumous work. I was hoping to get to talk to Karen Holleran this evening. She has a neat little project that she is researching. She's a little under the weather tonight, so we hope she feels better, and we'll have her in hopefully in a future meeting so that she can talk about her new project. But how about anybody else? Anybody else want to discuss a quick little research project they are working on or something that they want to get out there for the masses? 3, 2, 1. All right. On with our
Bruce,
feature presentation.
I'll share something.
Okay, Colin, go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Colin Campbell. I'm based in the Boston area, so I know this is a greater New England meeting, but thank you so much for having me. I look forward.
You're always welcome, man.
I've been a SABR member going back something like 10 years off and on, but I'm trying as I get into middle age be a more consistent fan. But one thing, I'd say the research is very, very early, but I am both an avid baseball fan and also a baseball card collector, as many of you may be, and am interested in researching sort of the value of different baseball cards per unit of rarity, per unit of goodness at baseball. So imagine like the dollar value of a card indexed by its rareness, indexed by how good the player actually was using modern statistics. And I think there'll be lots of interesting learnings coming of that. So very, very obscure, very niche, but sort of unite two of my interests.
Have you spoken to Donna Muscarella or Jason Schwartz on that?
I have not, no.
Okay, so the two people you want to go to beeline for these folks in the baseball card committee, Donna Muscarella and Jason Schwartz, who is the chair. Right. I think that they can give you some direction. And if you want me to put you in touch with them, send me an email directly, and I'll be happy to. Donna is the chair of the Elysian Fields chapter in Jersey.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. They're two great resources for you right there. You'll be thrilled with them. They're great people. All right. On with our feature presentation. Let's get this going. One of baseball's highly regarded feats is the cycle. Throughout AL and NL history, there have been 344 documented regular season cycles. Not even one pitcher has achieved the feat, and because of the designated hitter, few will get a chance again. Thus, the baseball cycle become a de facto batter cycle. But what about the pitcher cycle? This presentation discusses the pitcher cycle, identifies all players who achieved it from 1893 when the current 60 feet 6 inch distance between the pitcher's rubber and home plate was instituted through 2023. It will discuss those who have completed either type of cycle or both and defines a pitcher cycle, not to mention why we've seen more of them in recent years than the past, with a focus on players who have completed both over the course of their careers. Herm Krabbenhoft is a retired organic chemist and has been a SABR member since 1981. Among the various baseball research topics he has pioneered are ultimate Grand Slam homers, consecutive games on base safely streaks, quasi-cycles, imperfect perfectos, minor league day in, day out double duty diamond deers, downtown golden sombreros, and I don't know if I can untie my tongue to finish this. Herm is the author of Leadoff Batters of Major League Baseball from McFarland in 2001 and has received a SABR Baseball Research Award 3 times, the latest being in 2013. He is a lifetime Detroit Tigers fan and wants everyone to know that the Tigers' Zeb Eaton hit a pinch hit grand slam home run against the Yankees on the day he was born. Herm Krabbenhoft. Welcome to Northern New England, my friend. How you doing?
Very nice. Thank you for the nice introduction. Wow. Yeah, good old Zeb Eaton. I have his bat, by the way, or a bat of his, which am. I tell people it's the very bat that he hit the pinch grand slam home run with, but there's no way to know that. But I can say that. So.
All right. I am going to share your presentation. Can everyone see the presentation on the screen right now?
I can see it.
Herm,
yeah,
it's all yours. You just tell me when to advance the slide.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks so much. I'll get started now. Thanks to everyone who has chosen to attend this presentation on the pitcher's cycle. It's a brand new feat in baseball. And the next chart, the next chart, please.
You got it.
These are some of the people who have been very helpful to me in my research. I especially want to express my gratitude to Jonathan Frankel, John Rickert, and Dave Smith. I'll mention their important contributions in a bit. Okay, let's introduce the topic of pitcher cycles by the concept of pitcher cycles by looking at some numbers on the next chart, please. During the history of Major League Baseball, from 1876 through 2024, there have been 355 documented verified cycles. And this number 355 includes 7 cycles from the Negro Leagues, courtesy of Seamheads and Retro Sheet. Kevin Johnson of Seamheads has mentioned to me that there are another dozen or so cycles in the Negro Leagues that still need to be corroborated by balanced box scores. Okay, the chart on this, the table on this chart shows the starting field position of the players who achieve cycles. And what glaringly stands out is that there have been 0 starting pitchers who have achieved a baseball cycle. And Bruce mentioned in the beginning, this is largely due to the designated hitter, which has been around in the American League since 1973 and the National League since 2022. So therefore, pitchers have rarely batted during the DH era. And so what has the result of this is that the baseball cycle has become a de facto batter's cycle, which led me to ask the question, well, what about pitchers? A pitcher's cycle, a cycle exclusively for pitchers. Well, so I wanted to tackle that, and the next chart shows how I chose to address this. My research objectives were first to devise a viable pitcher cycle that is commensurate, let's say in prestige, with a batter's cycle, and then to identify all the achievers of pitcher cycles. And I chose the year 1893 as the starting point because that was the first year that the distance between the pitcher's rubber and home plate is the 60 feet 6 inches, which is the current distance. So it's a continuum for comparing achievers of the pitcher cycle. And then the third thing I wanted to do is to highlight those pitcher cycles with special aspects or features or characteristics. Okay, to get started, I went to the dictionary to find out just what a pitcher cycle is. And the next chart shows what I found. The Oxford Dictionary had 2 definitions for a pitcher cycle: a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. That sounds like a batting lineup to me. The second definition is a complete set or series. Then in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, there were 7 definitions given. I'm going to show 2 of them here. The first one, a course or series of events or operations that recur regularly and usually lead back to the starting point. Again, this sounds like a batting order to me. And the 7th definition is the series of a single, double, triple, and home run hit in any order by one player during one baseball game. This is the classic definition of a baseball cycle, the classic baseball cycle, a batter's cycle. Okay, so now we know the definition. The next thing I wanted to do was look at the primary objectives for baseball players. For a batter, his goal is to get on base. For a pitcher, his goal is to prevent the batter from getting on base. Now, the batter can achieve his objective independently, and so can the pitcher. They are completely opposite objectives, and the next chart shows how they can do this all by themselves. The batter can get on base all by himself by getting a hit, of which there are the 4 types: single, double, triple, and home run. The pitcher can achieve his objective all by himself by striking out the batter. And there are 9 batters, 1 batter for each of the 9 batting slots in the batting order. Okay, so combining the definitions for cycle with the objectives of the batters and pitchers, here's the next chart gives my definition of the pitcher cycle. First, I want to give the batter's cycle according to the Dixon Baseball Dictionary. Batter cycle, the series of at least one of each type of hit, i.e. a single, double, triple, and home run, not necessarily in that order, hit by a player in the same game. Now, paraphrasing the Dixon Baseball Dictionary definition for baseball, for a batter cycle, here's my pitcher's cycle. The series of at least one player from each of the 9 recurring batting slots, not necessarily in order, struck out by one pitcher in the same game. So batters hit for their cycle, pitchers hurl for their cycle. Batters collect specific hits, pitchers collect specific strikeouts. The next chart shows some features of the pitcher cycle. There are 9 different batters struck out. The batters struck out give a complete set of batting positions. The definition is applicable to both starters and relievers. And there's no limit to the number of innings it takes a player to achieve the pitcher cycle, just like with the batter cycle. Okay, so now we have the definition. The next order of business is to find out who achieved the pitcher cycle. Here's the research procedure I followed. The critical aspect of the pitcher cycle is that pitchers need to strike out at least 9 batters in a major league game. And so what I wanted to do was to generate lists of pitchers who struck out at least 9 batters in a major league game during each season from 1893 through 2024. ML is shown here in red because for my research on the pitcher cycles, I have not yet included the Negro Leagues. So everything I talk about here, when I say major league pitcher cycles, it means the National League, the American League, or the Federal League. Now, to put together these lists of players with 9 strikeouts, at least 9 strikeouts in a game, for the period 1893 to 1900, I used the ICI game-by-game sheets, digitized versions of which were graciously provided to me by Dave Smith. For the 1901 to 2024 seasons, I used the indispensable baseball reference StatHead search engine. It's phenomenal. So now with the list of pitchers with games with 9 or more strikeouts, I then went to the box scores and play-by-plays to find out which of these pitchers actually achieved a pitcher cycle. Unfortunately, for some of the games prior to 1916, batters' strikeout information is not there. Fortunately, Jonathan Frankel has done some superb research on strikeouts in the late 19th century and early 20th century. And Jonathan graciously provided me with some of his invaluable strikeout research to fill in many of those gaps. The next thing I did was to go through the relevant newspaper game accounts to get the details for the pitcher cycles. And then finally, to make certain I had dotted every I and crossed every T, John Rickard graciously wrote a computer program to identify all the achievers of the pitcher cycles from using the RetroSheet database from 1901 through 2023. So that was what I used to get my information, and here are the results. You can, next slide, please. For the period from 1893 through 2024, there were a total of 497 pitcher cycles achieved by 282 different players. For comparison, during the same time period, there were 320 batter cycles by 283 players. The 497 and 320 are in the same ballpark. There are a few hundred batter cycles, there are a few hundred pitcher cycles. And mathematically, the 497 and 320 values have the same order of magnitude. There is, however, a delta of 177 between the pitcher cycles and the batter cycles. The next chart shows we can explain this or give some idea about why that difference exists. This graph, this bar graph, shows the cumulative total of batter cycles in red and pitcher cycles in blue for each decade, and the cumulative gives you at the end of each decade. So from the 1890s through the 1940s, each decade, the number of batter cycles in each decade was greater than the number of pitcher cycles in each decade. The consequence of this is that at the end of each decade, from the 1890s through the 1980s, batter cycles cumulative total of batter cycles were greater than the cumulative total of pitcher cycles. However, from the 1950s forward, pitcher cycles for each decade outnumbered batter cycles, and that's continued to this day. The consequence of that is that from the 1990s, the cumulative total of pitcher cycles has been greater than the total number of batter cycles. And if you see from the 2010s decade and the first few seasons of the 2020s decade, the difference is extraordinary. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is crystal clear. There's been a great emphasis on the speed, the pitch speed for pitchers, and there's been a focus on exit velocity and launch angle for batters. The combination of these two emphases results in the great increased number of strikeouts we've seen, and concomitantly the increase in the number of pitcher cycles. Okay, so that's some of the basics. Now let's look at some of the third goal here, or the item on the agenda. And these are the special characteristics and features of pitcher cycles. There's a laundry list here. I'm going to cover, I can cover all of them if we have time. The first is going to be the chronology of career PC leaders. Then we'll talk about pitcher cycles, the top 10 in a career for career leaders. Then we'll have a few curiosity topics. Then we'll go on to cycles by relief pitchers, perfect pitcher cycles, extra inning pitcher cycles, super pitcher cycles, postseason pitcher cycles, and then I can't see it now. Oh, it's 9. Combined pitchers cycles and batter cycles. A player who's done that. And then if there's time and interest, we can go through the pitcher cycles for each of the franchises. Okay, let's start off with the chronology of career pitchers, pitcher cycles. The first player to toss a pitcher cycle was Noodles Hahn of the Cincinnatis in 1901, and as shown on the next chart, he was joined over the next few years by 5 other players, including Hall of Famers Christy Mathewson and Rube Waddell. The next chart shows a picture of the player who first got 2 pitcher cycles. This is Christy Mathewson, and as shown on the next chart, Big Six also picked up was the first player to get 3 pitcher cycles. Mathewson, with his 3 pitcher cycles, had the record all by himself for about 35 years. It was not until 1945 that Van Mungo got his 3rd pitcher cycle to tie Christy Mathewson. Bob Feller made it a triumvirate in 1946, and Hal Newhouser made it a quartet in 1947. This foursome was joined in 1958 by a player who then subsequently added a 4th pitcher cycle to get the record. And who was that player? Well, the next chart gives a list of the top 5 strikeout pitchers from 1947 to 58. Warren Spahn, Robin Roberts, Early Wynn, Billy Pierce, and Bob Lemon. All good possibilities, but it was none of these. The actual player to join the group was, on the next chart, Sam Jones of the St. Louis Cardinals in 1958. And as shown on the next chart, Sam also picked up his 4th PC in 1959 with the San Francisco Giants. And Toothpick Sam held the record of 4 pitcher cycles for about 6 years until 1965, when he had to share it. And who did he share it with? Well, the next chart gives 6 pitchers who led the league and who were the top strikeout pitchers from 58 through 65. Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Jim Bunning, Camilo Pascual, Whitey Ford, and Bob Gibson. And perhaps not surprisingly, the next chart shows who was the one to tie Sam Jones. It was Sandy Koufax. And the next chart shows that Koufax also picked up his 5th pitcher cycle, also in 1965, to claim the record all by himself. He held it for over 10 years, about 11 years, until he was tied in 1976, first by Tom Seaver and then by Nolan Ryan. Which of these two was the first one to get 6 pitcher cycles? The franchise or the Express? And the next chart shows it was Nolan Ryan. And the next chart shows that Ryan also picked up his 6th and 7th pitcher cycles in the tail end of 1976 to claim the record was 7. Then he was dormant for over 10 years with regard to getting pitcher cycles. And in the meantime, Steve Carlton managed to tie him with 7 in 1983. Ryan then eventually recovered his pitcher cycle technique, and then picked up numbers 8 through 11 during the years 1986 through 1990. And as shown on the next chart, Ryan picked up his 12th PC in 1991, and that remained the record, the major league record, through 1999. It was, however, tied in 1999 by another flamethrower, and the next chart shows a list of possibilities: Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, etc. Clemens had over 3,000 strikeouts in that period. Randy Johnson had almost 2,700. They each had 5 strikeout titles in that period. And the one who actually tied Ryan and went on to get some more was, next chart, Randy Johnson. As shown on the next chart, Randy Johnson, during the 2000-2004 seasons, picked up 9 more to increase his career total to 21 pitcher cycles. That remains the major league record. No one has come close to 21 pitcher cycles in the past 20 years. All right, so that's the survey of the chronology of the leaders in the pitcher cycles for the major leagues. The next, we're going to look at the top 10, and there's 2 charts. First chart here is for the 1 through 8. Randy Johnson leads with 21. Nolan Ryan's got 12 for second place. Chris Sale is in third place with 10. Note that Randy Johnson has the record for the most in the National League with 11, and that he and Chris Sale share the record for the most pitcher cycles in the American League. Max Scherzer is 4th with 9. Pedro Martinez and Jacob deGrom are tied for 5th with 8 each. Steve Carlton has 7 for his 7th spot, and the Rocket is number 8 with 6. The next chart gives those pitchers who have tied for 9th and 10th. Each of them has 5. Sandy Koufax, Tom Seaver, Curt Schilling, John Smoltz, Jose Fernandez, and Justin Verlander. Pitchers shown in blue are active, so Verlander is still active. And at the bottom of the chart, there's players with either 4 or 3 pitcher cycles. Those shown in blue are still active, and therefore with 1 or 2 pitcher cycles in their next year or so can join the top 10. Note that all the pitchers in the top 10 are what I would classify as relatively modern day pitchers. The earliest first pitcher cycle was in 1959 by Sandy Koufax. So to give proper recognition to the and appropriate respect to the early achievers of pitcher cycles, the next two charts will show the top 10 from 1893 to 1960. Here are the first 5. Sam Jones with 4, and then Christy Mathewson, Van Mungo, Bob Feller, and Hal Newhouser, each with 3. The next chart gives those early pitchers with a pair of pitcher cycles: Rube Waddell, Walter Johnson, Dazzy Vance, Johnny Allen, Johnny Vandermeer, and Dave Hillman. Okay, what I want to do now is go from the past to the present. And so on the next 2 charts, we're going to look at the pitchers who achieved a pitcher cycle in 2024. Here are the first 7. Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, Nick Lodolo, Taj Bradley did it twice. Tyler Glasnow, Pablo Lopez. And the next chart shows the final 7 players to get the pitcher cycle: Tarek Skubal, Hunter Green, Nathan Eovaldi, Michael King, Nick Pivetta, Bryce Miller, and Zach Gallen. All right, so that's now I want to go into some what I'm going to term as curiosity items. The next chart shows players who achieved a pitcher cycle while also tossing a no-hitter. Sandy Koufax, Don Wilson, Nolan Ryan did it twice, and Max Scherzer. And the next chart shows the 2 pitchers who achieved an immaculate inning in the same game that they achieved the pitcher cycle: Carlos Carrasco from Cleveland and Nestor Cortez of the Yankees. All right, now I want to switch to players who did not achieve a pitcher cycle. And this chart shows players with 19 or more strikeouts in a game without achieving a pitcher cycle in that game. And the list is headed up by Tom Cheney. In 1962, pitching for the Washington Senators in a game against the Baltimore Orioles, Cheney struck out 21 batters in hurling a complete game, 16 innings. The only batting slot that he did not strike out a batter was the number 5 slot, occupied by Boog Powell. They squared off 7 times. Cheney came out ahead on 5 of them, either with ground outs or fly outs, and Powell came out ahead on 2 of them. He singled in the 8th inning, and he drew a base on balls in the 10th inning. All of the pitchers shown besides Cheney achieved multiple pitcher cycles. Cheney did not achieve even a single pitcher cycle in his career. And at the very bottom of the chart, there is also pitchers with 18, 17, and 16 Ks without achieving a pitcher cycle. There were 10 players with 10 strikeout games, 10 players with 18 strikeout games who did not achieve a pitcher cycle. I'll mention them again, that 18 in a bit. Okay, the next one I want to talk about without getting a pitcher cycle are players who strike out 8 batters in a row. If you strike out 9 batters in a row, you automatically get a pitcher cycle. 9 in a row, 9 batting slots in a row. So these are the players who struck out 8 batters in a row but could not get that 9th slot. 2 of these are particularly of interest. I want to go through them. Ron Davis, the 1981 New York Yankees, struck out 8 in a row as a relief pitcher. He came in the 7th inning with the Yankees ahead 4-2. The first batter he faced was Don Baylor, and he got Baylor to pop out. Then he struck out the next 2 batters in the 7th, the next 3 batters in the 8th, the next 3 batters in the 9th. The game was over. He had done his job perfectly, but he could not come back to get a chance to get the perfect pitcher cycle, because the game was over. The other one I want to talk about briefly here is German Marquez of the Colorado Rockies in 2018. An amazing start against the Philadelphia Phillies. In the first inning, he struck out the side on 11 pitches, all swinging strikeouts. In the second inning, he struck out the side again on 12 pitches, 2 swinging strikeouts and 1 called strikeout. Then in the third inning, he got the first 2 batters on strikes to strike him out on 6 pitches. And the next batter was his mound foe, Nick Pivetta. And the first 2 pitches to Pivetta were strikes. So, and Pivetta had a career batting average of .083, and he struck out 55% of the time. So the prospects for Marquez getting the perfect pitcher cycle were great. He could even get if he got the 3rd strike on the next pitch, he would get an immaculate inning as well. Alas, Pivetta grounded the ball back to Marquez, and he messed it up and throwing to first, and Pivetta was safe on the error. Marquez then did strike out after giving up a walk, strike out the next batter to complete the striking out the side, although not continuously in that 3rd inning. He next squared off against Pivetta in the 5th inning, and had a count of 1-2 on Pivetta. One more strike, and he would get the pitcher cycle, not a perfect one, but at least a pitcher cycle. Pivetta again grounded the ball back to Marquez, who this time fielded it cleanly and threw him out. That was in the 5th. In the 6th and the 7th, Pivetta set down the Phillies in 1-2-3 order. So that meaning that he would face Pivetta or somebody else in the number 9 slot in the 8th inning. Unfortunately, Marquez was pinch hit for in the bottom of the 7th and did not have the chance to go for the pitcher cycle. Okay, that's it for the 8 Ks in a row. Well, wait, go back yet. Don't go, not yet. I want to. Can you go back? Yeah, the players shown in blue, they have it. They, even though they missed getting a pitcher cycle in their 8 Ks game, they did get a pitcher cycle in another game in their career. So there's those 5: Padres, Wilson, Ryan, McKenzie, and Pivetta as well. Okay, the next chart, please. These are players who just missed a double pitcher cycle. And that's defined as follows: the series of at least 2 players from each of the 9 recurring batting slots, not necessarily in order, struck out by 1 pitcher in the same game. So to get a double pitcher cycle, you need 18 strikeouts. And I mentioned there were 16 players who did not, there were 10 players who struck out 18 without getting a pitcher cycle. And then there were the other 6 with 19 or more strikeouts. Well, here are 4 pitchers who came very, very close to getting a double pitcher cycle. Don Wilson of the 1968 Houston Astros struck out every opposing Reds batter at least twice, except for Alex Johnson. In fact, he couldn't strike out Johnson even once, so he didn't even get a regular pitcher cycle. The other 3 players, Kerry Wood, Randy Johnson, and Corey Kluber, did get a regular pitcher cycle, even though they just missed the getting a double pitcher cycle. Kerry Woods is, I guess, the most interesting, at least for me. In his rookie year, in his 5th game as a major leaguer, he had 18 strikeouts after 8 innings. If he could strike out the side, he would be the first player to strike out 21 opposing batters in a regulation 9-inning game, and he would get the doubles, the first one, the only one at that, as it turns out, to get a double pitcher cycle. He got the first batter in the 9th, but then the next batter was Craig Biggio, the leadoff batter for the Astros. Wood had fanned him to lead off the game. Then he retired him on a ground out, and then in the 6th inning, on a 1-2 pitch, he came in too close, too much inside, and hit Biggio with the pitch, and Biggio walked to first base. And then one other time, the 9th inning, with the last chance for the double pitcher cycle, and Biggio grounded out. So that ended that. Okay, the next near miss topic I want to address is on the next slide, and next. Opposing pitchers with pitcher cycles. So 2 pitchers getting a pitcher cycle in the same game. It's not yet happened in the 1893 to 2024 period. There have been 4 who have come very close, though. In this chart, the pitchers on the left, Dave McNally, John Lester, Jose Barrios, and Joe Musgrove, they each achieved the pitcher's cycle. The pitchers on the right just missed by one batter, by one strikeout, one batting slot. Sam McDowell, Max Scherzer, Corbin Burns, and Jacob deGrom. Each of them has multiple pitcher strikeouts. So it's not something that they could not have achieved. They just didn't. Well, maybe 2025 we'll see a double pitcher cycle. Okay, I think the next chart has the last one I want to do on missed on without PCs. This is the list of players with over 2,400 strikeouts in their career without a single pitcher cycle in their career. The three that stand out to me are Don Sutton, over 3,500 strikeouts, CC Sabathia and Jim Bunning, 77, each of them 77 games with over 9 strikeouts, but not once did they get a pitcher cycle. Okay, now we're going to look at players who did achieve pitcher cycles. And the next chart has one of my favorite topics, relievers with pitcher cycles. There have been 6 of them. Rube Marquard was the first in 1911. Gene Conley was the next one in 1959, 48 years later. Dave Hillman also got one in 1959. Then Dick Raditz, Randy Johnson, and Tyler Alexander. Interesting stories for each of these, and we'll go through them. The first one is Rube Marquard. And the next chart shows a picture of Rube Marquard. This is in 1911. In the first inning, the starting pitcher for the Giants was Christy Mathewson. He set down the opposing batters on the St. Louis Cardinals without incident. No runs. One guy got on, but he was doubled up. And then the bottom of the first inning, the Giants scored 13 runs. So John McGraw says, I'm not going to waste Christy Mathewson in this game. So he puts Rube Marquard in the second inning. Marquard pitches the rest of the game and hurls and achieves a pitcher cycle in relief. The Giants won the game 19-5, and Marquard retroactively got credit for a save. The next pitcher with a relief pitcher with a pitcher cycle is Gene Conley, and this is in 1959. He effectively pitched a complete game shutout. It was a game against the Cubs, and in the first inning, the starting pitcher for Philadelphia, Seth Moorhead, he gave up he walked the first batter, hit the second batter, gave up a single. I'm sorry, I forget the exact order now, but the first 3 batters got a walk, a single, and were hit by the pitch. Lee Walls was the third batter, he got a walk. Then the 4th batter was Ernie Banks. He hits a double, clearing the bases. So the Phillies are down by 3-0 right off the bat. So they bring Gene Conley in as relief pitcher at this point, and he proceeds to pitch the rest of the game, shutting out the Cubs and achieving a pitcher cycle in the process. However, the Phillies were not able to overcome the 3 runs that the Cubs scored in the first inning, and therefore they lost the game. And Conley got a game finished for his for his pitcher cycle. Okay, so that was the second one. The next one, pitcher cycle, was also in 1959, just a couple weeks later, and the relief pitcher was Dave Hillman, who actually was the starting pitcher in Gene Conley's relief pitcher cycle. And even, I guess, more interestingly, the starting pitcher for the Cubs was Seth Moorhead. He had been traded by the Phillies to the Cubs after his drastic performance against the Phillies, and so he started, and in the game against the Dodgers, he gave up he walked Jim Gilliam, gave up a single to Charlie Neal, then he struck out Don Demeter, and then he walked Gil Hodges. That brought up Rip Rapolsky, who hit a double, clearing the bases. Then he walked the next batter, and at that point, the Cubs brought in Dave Hillman to relieve Moorhead. Hillman pitched brilliantly for the next 7 2/3 innings, achieving a pitcher's cycle. And fortunately for Hillman, the Cubs were able to overcome the Dodgers' first run onslaught, and Hillman actually ended up being the winning pitcher, getting his being the winning pitcher and getting a pitcher's cycle in relief in the process. The next relief pitcher to get a pitcher cycle was Dick the Monster Raditz. It was a game against the Detroit Tigers, and the Red Sox were leading 3-2, going in the bottom of the 7th, playing in Detroit. The Tigers have a runner on second base with 1 out, and the Tigers' scheduled batter is Jim Bunning, the pitcher. So the Tigers manager, Bob Sheffing, says, well, we're going to get a pinch hitter here. And he brings in a right-hander, Bill Freehan, to face the Red Sox starting pitcher, the left-hander, Wilbur Wood. So the Red Sox manager says, well, I won't, we got the righty-lefty in our favor. He brings in Raditz, a right-hander, to face Freehan. The Tigers manager, playing managerial chess, brings in a left-handed batting batter, Whitey Herzog. Well, Raditz didn't care. He struck out Herzog. Then he walked the next batter, Jake Wood, which brought up Bubba Phillips, another right-handed batter. So Bob Sheffing, manager Bob Sheffing, goes to his bench and calls on Bill Bruton, a left-handed batter, to face Raditz. Pesky decides to stick with Raditz. And lo and behold, Bill Bruton hits a single to knock in the game-tying run. Dick Raditz blew the save. Well, I mean, it wasn't at that, he blew it, but it wasn't called a blown save at that time. Nonetheless, Pesky let Raditz stay in the game. And then, so the game was tied, and it remained tied through 14 innings. And then in the top of the 15th inning, the Red Sox scored 4 runs to take a 7-3 lead. And then in the bottom of the 15th, Dick Raditz and he needed only one more strikeout, the number 2 slot, which was occupied by Billy Bruton, who was the last batter in the 15th inning, and Raditz struck him out to get a walk-off strikeout pitcher cycle. Pretty cool, and the victory as well. Okay, so now the next pitcher cycle by a relief pitcher was hurled by Randy Johnson. An amazing game. This is the game that took place in San Diego at Qualcomm Stadium between the Diamondbacks and the Padres. The Diamondbacks had a 1-0 lead after going into the bottom of the 3rd inning. The first batter up for the Diamondbacks, I'm sure it's the top of the 3rd. Going into the top of the 3rd, the first batter up for the Diamondbacks is their starting pitcher, the pitcher with the Red Sox with the bloody sock, Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling. So the count goes to 0-2 on Schilling, and here's what happens next. Next slide, please. Next slide. Boom, boom. 2 explosions of a transformer in the light tower in left field at Qualcomm Stadium. This is not actually the photo from Qualcomm Stadium. The next chart shows an actual photo. This is from the ESPN. The photo is no longer available, and this snapshot for the video is also not available. But the caption reads, "Smoke pours from the lights above left field at Qualcomm Stadium on Wednesday." So they could not continue the game because the backup lighting was inadequate. So they rescheduled the continuation of the game for a doubleheader the next day. And then Randy Johnson took over for Curt Schilling. He hurled a one-hitter for his 7 innings, and in the process tossed or picked up the pitcher's cycle. It's not expected that Randy Johnson would get a pitcher's cycle in relief. He got 20 of them. He got 20 of them as a starting pitcher. Okay, the next chart shows the last player to get a pitcher's cycle in relief. And this is Tyler Alexander of the Detroit Tigers. And his performance was absolutely scintillating. It was in 2020. So it's a 7-inning. It was a doubleheader. So it's a 7-inning game. It's against the visiting Cincinnati Reds in Detroit at Comerica Park. Cincinnati has a 3-0 lead over the Tigers in the 3rd inning. Former Tiger Nick Castellanos has just hit a solo homer off the Tigers starter, and that prompted Tiger manager Ron Gardenhire to bring in Tyler Alexander from the bullpen. Alexander proceeded to strike out the first 3 batters he faced in the 3rd, to close out the 3rd, swinging, looking, swinging. Then in the 4th inning, he struck out the side again, swinging, looking, swinging. And then in the 5th inning, he again struck out the side, looking, looking, swinging. So 9, count them, 9 strikeouts in a row. And as I mentioned before, that 9 strikeouts in a row automatically gives you a pitcher's cycle. And so Tyler Alexander, as a relief pitcher, picked up a perfect pitcher's cycle. And that's also the perfect segue to the next topic I want to talk about, and that is perfect pitcher's cycles. There have been 12 of them from 1893 through 2024. Here's the first 6. The first one was achieved by Tom Seaver in 1970 in a game against the San Diego Padres. Seaver struck out the last 10 batters in a row to get his perfect pitcher cycle. And then there was nothing for the next 37 years, or almost 37 years. Jake Peavy got the second one in 2007. And then there have been a few other ones in fairly fairly close succession. Ricky Nolasco, Aaron Herang, Doug Fister, and Max Scherzer picked up the numbers 2 through 6 through 2015. The next chart shows the next 6, which were achieved in the course of only, that was achieved in 4 years, but nothing in 2024, so 5 years. Tyler Alexander, Jacob deGrom, Aaron Nola, Pablo Lopez, Corbin Burns, and Andrew Heaney. Note that Pablo Lopez's perfect pitcher cycle was at the start of the game. He struck out the first 9 batters he faced, and he pitched 3 more innings and didn't strike out any more. So, interesting for perfect pitcher cycles. Let's see, what else I want to talk about. I think that's it for that. Okay, let's go on to the next topic, which is extra inning pitcher cycles. As I mentioned in the beginning, it doesn't matter how many innings one pitches to get the pitcher cycle, as long as one gets every batting slot. Joe Wood was the first one to require extra innings. He did it in the 11th inning, the 33rd batter. He was pitching for the Boston Red Sox. The next one was also a Boston pitcher, Warren Spahn, with the Boston Braves in 1951, and he had to go into the 12th inning to do it. Actually, 11.2 innings, the 35th batter. And then there are the other ones here: Dave Hillman, Mike Cuellar, Nolan Ryan, and Frank Tanana. And then lastly, Dave Goltz, 1977 Minnesota Twins. That was 47 years ago. Pitchers rarely pitch more than 9 innings today, even get to 9 innings nowadays. So it's likely, I wouldn't be surprised that Dave Goltz would be the very last player to get a pitcher cycle in extra innings. Okay, the next topic is super pitcher cycles. When I was trying to come up with the definition for a viable pitcher cycles, one of the ideas I thought about was a pitcher who strikes out one batter in each of the 9 innings of a game. You get 9 strikeouts. But there are some issues with that. Not all games are 9 innings. Some go extra innings, like we just talked about. Some are shorter because of rain or some other reason. And so you could end up with a 6-inning pitcher cycle, a 7-inning pitcher cycle, a 12-inning pitcher cycle. So that just didn't set well with me. Also, getting a batter in each inning, depending on what other batters do, you could be striking out the bottom of the order 3 or 4 times in the various innings to get the 9. So it's a neat feat, but not good enough for me, in my opinion, for a pitcher cycle. But if you combine the feat of striking out a batter in 9 consecutive innings with a pitcher cycle, it does become special, and we've termed that the super pitcher cycle. Of the 497 pitcher cycles, only 31 are super. The first one was achieved by Bill Hallahan in 1931 with the St. Louis Cardinals. It was the only pitcher cycle he achieved in his major league career. The other ones whose only pitcher cycle was a super pitcher cycle was Dick Drott and Stan Williams. Sandy Koufax picked up 2 of them. He's the first one to get 2. And note that Johnny Allen achieved a super pitcher cycle by not pitching a complete game. He completed the super pitcher cycle by striking out getting the second batter out in the 9th inning, but he hurt his arm in the process and was relieved. But he still got the super pitcher cycle. Okay, the next chart shows the next group of super pitcher cycles achievers. Tom Seaver picked up 2 to tie Koufax for the most in a career. Tom Seaver's name is also shown in caps, and that's because his first super pitcher cycle was that 19-inning strikeout game against the Padres. So it was a super perfect pitcher cycle. A little tongue twister there. There have been only 2 of them. I'll mention the other one in a bit. Okay, the next chart covers the period from 74 through 95. And Nolan Ryan dominates this chart. He's on it 4 times, and that's now the record. That is the still standing record for the most super pitcher cycles in a career. Nolan Ryan. The first one, which he achieved in 1974 with the Angels, was phenomenal. He struck out at least one batter in each of the 11 innings he pitched. Complete game, 19 strikeouts total, but he lost the game 1-0. Okay, the next chart covers a small period, 96 to 2000. Roger Clemens picked up 2 there. That gave him a total of 3. Pedro Martinez also picked up a couple in that 5-year period. And the last chart on this topic, the next chart, these are the pitchers most recently who achieved a super pitcher cycle. Brandon Morrow and Vince Velasquez, that was their only pitcher cycle. Max Scherzer's name is shown in caps because he's the other pitcher to have achieved a super perfect pitcher cycle. And his name is in red because that game was also a no-hitter for him, an actual no-hitter. He just missed a perfect game. Only runner to get on base was through a fielding error. Vince Velasquez is the last pitcher to throw a super pitcher cycle 8 years ago, and it requires nine consecutive innings to get a strikeout, and pitchers don't throw 9 innings anymore. So that may be the last one we see of that. Okay, and now the next topic is back-to-back pitcher cycles. This chart which covers the period from 1893 to 2018. There's five examples of a pitcher having a pair of back-to-back pitcher cycles. Randy Johnson did it 3 times. Pedro Martinez did it twice. very modern, between 92 and 2000. And since 2000, between 2000 and 2018, there were none. So it kind of died out. But now there's been a resurgence, as shown on the next chart. There have been 4 pitchers in the last, I guess that's now 6 years. Yu Darvish, Garrett Cole, Jacob deGrom, and Blake Snell. Each have achieved a single pair of pitcher cycles. There has not yet been a back-to-back-to-back threesome of pitcher cycles. Okay, the next chart is postseason pitcher cycles. There have been 7, 3 in the World Series. The first one was by Jesse Barnes of the 1921 New York Giants, and he did it in relief. That was his only pitcher cycle in his major league career. Bob Gibson got the next one in 1968 against the Tigers, unfortunately. His 17 strikeouts remains the major league record for most strikeouts in a World Series game, and it was also a super pitcher cycle. Randy Johnson has the most recent World Series pitcher cycle. Tom Seaver has the only one pitcher cycle achieved in League Championship Series in 1973, a losing effort, unfortunately, for him. And 3 pitchers have achieved the pitcher cycle in the League Division Series play: Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, and Garrett Cole. And now the next chart is the last topic. It's the only player who has achieved both a batter cycle and a pitcher cycle, and the details are on the next chart. Shohei Ohtani has had 29 9K games, and 2 of those was able to convert into pitcher cycles, one in 2022 and one in 2023. We'll see what he does in 2025 with the Dodgers. And he's had 10 4-hit games in his batting career, and one of those was turned into a batter cycle in 2019 with the Angels. Okay, I'm going to stop here before I take questions and comments. Wait, go back to the chart yet, please. I'm not finished. I need, if you'll put back my charts.
Go.
I guess it's coming. Okay, before you flip to the next chart, I want to express my thanks to 2 organizations who have been very, very helpful in my research. The first, and that's the next chart, is Retro Sheet and Baseball Reference. The baseball research enablers. And then finally, I want to reiterate my thanks. Next chart. My thanks to the people who were especially helpful to me in my pitchers cycle research. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions and comments and proceed.
All right. If you have a question for Herm tonight, just go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. Once you hit that, there'll be another button that is marked raise hand. Click the raise hand button and we'll get you in line to ask questions of our presenter, Herm Krabbenhoft, tonight. I have to say that at this point, I believe that I am eligible for a master's or a doctoral degree in this. I believe that I have gone to a very high level class and that I deserve it. I deserve a certificate for this. This is fantastic. Comprehensive. I only dream of being able to do this, but you're in for it now, Herm, because the first guy with his hand up, of course, Joe Ross. Joe, how you doing?
Okay, thank you very much.
Go get him, brother.
That was absolutely a great presentation, Herm. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I got to tell you, I don't have the wherewithal to sit that long to get through every one of those pieces of paper, online or otherwise, because that's major, major work. The thing that surprised me, frankly, is the big difference between the pitcher stat and the batter's stat, because now nobody goes nine innings.
Yeah.
There's too many relievers come in too soon, which makes that almost impossible to achieve that.
That's right. And if you can, Bruce, if you go back to the chart with the 2024 pitchers cycles on it, it's way back in the beginning. If you can zip through that, you'll see that the pitchers. I think the most innings pitched was. Keep going. We'll get there momentarily. There we go. You can see that for the first one, it's 6.1, 7, 7, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 innings was for Pablo Lopez, 5.2. The pitchers, and likewise for the next group, be the same kind of thing. 7, 7, 6. Yeah. They come in, they throw amazingly hard and fast. Batters are swinging for the home run or the swinging hard. They get their strikeouts, and then they're done.
That's got to be the hardest statistic to get, no matter who you are.
Yeah. I'm especially interested to see what Paul Skeens does in 2025 when he gets a full season with his strikeouts and all the pitches he has. I don't think he would ever get to 21 because they won't let him pitch as much as Randy Johnson did. But it'd be interesting to see what he can do. The record for the most pitcher cycles in 1 year is 4 by Randy Johnson. So it could be that someone could get 5. If like Skeens could get 5 in a year, that would be fantastic.
It would be very unusual too.
Yeah.
Bruce, I got you. You should notice, however, I didn't say anything bad.
I didn't say you say anything bad. I just say that you've always got to get the Red Sox zinger in there. I just wait for it every week. I'm disappointed when it doesn't come, Joe.
I didn't say anything about the Red Sox.
I know.
I don't know
what to do.
I have an interesting. If there's interest and time, I have an interesting story about a Red Sox pitcher cycle this past year, 2024, and one that did not happen in 2024. So we'll take other people's questions and comments first, but I have an interesting story there as well.
Colin Campbell had a question there. I want to get Colin in before I go to Norm. Colin, you're up.
Sure. Thanks, Bruce. Thank you so much for the presentation, Herm. It was terrific. Really enjoyed all the detail and appreciate all the work you put into creating it. My question is just on the frequency of occurrence of these where you started. If I think about it on a per game basis, it strikes me that like there's really only 2 chances of a pitcher cycle occurring in any one game, right? Sort of generally the starting pitcher for each side. Some can happen in relief, but there's really only like 2 chances. But if you think about a batter cycle, there's more like something like 16 or 18 chances, right? Whoever gets 4 plate appearances in a game.
Right.
So if the absolute number of these that have occurred is similar, 300 and whatever it was, 20 to 490.
Yeah.
And the number that could occur per game is actually like 9x for batters, then it strikes me that like these are actually more common, quite a bit more common than batter cycles. Even if the absolute number is kind of roughly similar, there's just there's so many more chances for batters to have cycles, but they just happen so infrequently. So I'd love to understand how you think about that kind of dynamic.
I thought about that as well. And you're right. But my mission was to find a pitcher cycle that was at least somewhat, comparable to a batter cycle. And the absolute numbers are similar in the same ballpark. If you go on like you say, on a per chance basis per batter or per player, the batter cycle is much rarer, much rarer.
And then a separate question. I'm curious, and others may know this, like, has there ever been a game where a pitcher got like one of every type of out to like different positions around the defense? So for instance, like at least one strikeout looking, at least one strikeout swinging, at least one ground ball to the first baseman, one ground ball to the second baseman. And you can't possibly get every play, but just something more like that.
I don't know. Interesting thought. I've not I've not pursued that. I guess the closest thing I ever came to that was trying to get a play that followed pi, 3.14. So pitcher to first baseman to pitcher to the second baseman, and then keep on going. But Pete Palmer and I were doing some of that stuff, but we didn't get very far. Okay.
I was just thinking of Pete when for the answer to that question. I'm thinking, where's Pete Palmer or Dick Kramer when I need him? Because either one of those guys would probably have something along the lines of an instance of that. And hey, Pete, Dick, if you're watching this, email me. I need to know. Norm Ginsburg, how you doing?
Hi.
You're up.
Yeah, I think I'll add a little complexity to it. You began by talking about the pitcher can only control the strikeout. I don't know if it's even possible to get to the information, but there are other plays the pitcher can control. You mentioned Nick Pivetta, 8 strikeouts, and Nick Pivetta grounded out. What if the ground out became the pitcher got the unassisted put out at first, or a pop out, a pop up to the pitcher? I mean, there are other ways that that the pitcher would be the only one responsible for the out.
You're right. That would, I guess I would call it a pseudo pitcher cycle. If you couldn't strike him out, if you got a pop out or like that, that would be a pseudo pitcher's cycle.
I had one other comment.
Yeah.
And I know with a batter cycle, a batter could get theoretically need only a triple for the cycle and then get a home run to last at bat.
Right.
Is there anything like that you can think of in a pitcher cycle whereby he could have done it, but
let's see. Well, not with strikeouts. A strikeout, if you don't get the strikeouts, you can't. If you don't strike out the 9 batters, the 9 different slots, you can't get a pitcher cycle.
Yeah.
And your point about the pitcher catching a pop up like that, or getting a bunt and then tagging the runner out before he got to first, unassisted, that would be in my mind, a pseudo pitcher. I like that, a pseudo pitcher cycle. With regard to the batters who needs a triple and hits a home run, there's not a cycle there. But I know it's not. I did research.
But he couldn't. I mean, theoretically, a guy can do that and stop. And needs a triple, needs a double, and he stops on second base, even though he could have made a triple.
Yeah, I don't. That has not happened. But in the past, I did research on what I term quasi cycles. And that's where a player has 4 extra base hits,
right?
One double, 1 triple, and 1 home run at least, and then 1 more extra base hit. So he misses the cycle because he has a better hit than a single, and so those are termed quasi cycles. And there have been at least 2 players who needed a single for a cycle. They hit a ball in the gap. Kelly Gruber and I forget the other guy, another Toronto Blue Jay. They hit a ball in the gap and stopped at first base. They skillfully stopped at first base to get the cycle.
Well, there's been guys that got 4 home runs in a game that didn't get a cycle.
Right. That's not a cycle. Yeah,
I know.
It's actually more valuable than a cycle. So,
Did we just break ground here?
I like the idea about a pseudo pitcher cycle. I'll have to add that. Yeah, I like it.
Did we just break ground here with a new statistic for you, Herm?
That is new. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Good one.
I mean, this is what we do here. We break ground. We do it all up here. Colin, you're back up, man. How you doing? Come on in.
Yeah, I'm curious, Herm, were there any pitchers who got a pitching cycle who also surrendered a batting cycle in the same game?
Ooh.
It seems unlikely, right? Someone would have to go 4 hits and including a strikeout, but possibly.
Yeah. I don't know. I would doubt it, but I don't know that. Yeah, don't know. Well, if you give up a home run, triple, double, and a single to one batter, one pitcher giving up all 4 of those hits, you're likely, well, you're giving up at least one run, maybe more runs. That may prevent you from getting enough innings in to get enough batters to strike out one from each batting slot. I don't know the answer, but I agree with you that it's unlikely.
And then lastly, I just want to say thanks for the shout out to Ron Davis. I remember the 1982 Topps card #2, for those of you who know it, that featured the game where he had eight straight strikeouts. And when I grew up, I'm a Red Sox fan now, but when I grew up, I was a Yankees fan. Don't ask me how that happened. But but I remember that card well because I was like, who the hell is Ron Davis? Like I didn't know him well, but he had this like highlight card at the beginning of the set.
Yeah, cool.
We are back to Joe Ross. Joe, go get him.
Just a quick one. If you're inventing statistics, what if a batter hits a ball, he has a single, a double, and a home run, and he hits a ball that might be a triple, but the outfielder misplays it over the fence, which gives him another home run instead of a triple? Is that a pseudo?
No. It is not a quasi cycle because he did not get he needs to get each of the extra base hits. He needs a double, triple, and home run, and then any other one. So you need to have the triple to get a quasi cycle.
I think that means he got Canseco'd.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He got Canseco'd. I think that is the terminology for it. Let's end up on Herm's story on the Red Sox. Go.
So in this past year, I was going to take each of my grandkids to a Red Sox Tigers game. So at the beginning of the season, I bought tickets to bring each of my grandkids to one of the 4 Tigers Red Sox games at Fenway Park. And this was a 4-game series, Thursday through Sunday in late May. And then as it developed, my grandson, Patrick, in 8th grade for his final term paper for a multi-subject class, was doing it on Japanese American baseball before and during World War II. And as it just, fortuitously turned out, the Hall of Fame was having its 36th annual symposium on baseball and American culture. And even more fortuitously, the Friday morning session was on peacetime baseball, or keeping peace in baseball. And it dealt with Japanese American baseball in during the Second World War, or around in that time period. And so we decided to go to that. And so therefore, on Thursday after school, we left to head to Cooperstown to go to that symposium. And therefore, we could not go to the Thursday night Tigers Red Sox game, which was the Red Sox starting pitcher was Nick Pivetta. So what I did is I gave my tickets to Dixie Tarango and asked him to score the game for me. And he did. And here's what happened. I might not get it exactly right. I don't have it in front of me. But the first batter, I think, was retired on a flyout. The second batter was Riley Green, and he was not retired. He got on base somehow. And then Pivetta struck out the next 2 batters in the first. He struck out each of the 3 batters in the third, and each of the 3 batters in the 3rd inning. So now he has 8 strikeouts in a row. And the first batter he's going to face in the 4th inning is Riley Green, and Green is not struck out. So Pivetta does not get the perfect pitcher cycle. It then goes to I'm going to guess that the 6th inning, and the first batter flies out. The next batter gets a single, and then Riley Green is the next batter. No, oh, I'm sorry. The first batter flied out. The next batter got a triple, and then Riley Green comes up, and manager Joey Cora says has it be an intentional walk to Green. So there goes the number 2 batting slot without a strikeout. The next batter, I forget who it was, but he gets a single to knock in the guy on third base and also knock Pivetta out of the game, out of the box. And so he did not even get a pitcher cycle because he was done pitching at that point. But on Friday morning, we did the 3 talks on Japanese American baseball. Great talks. He made for a great term paper for my grandson. And then after the talks, we toured the Hall of Fame, and then drove back to Boston in time to get the Friday after Red Sox Tigers game. So that's the story there. So, neat.
Nice stuff. Nice stuff. This has been quite a presentation. I think I should be getting my diploma in the mail in the next few days. I'm not sure from what university, but it's going to be from somebody. We are back on Wednesday, December 4th, 2 days from now at 7 p.m. Eastern, when the East Coast Collaborative brings you SABR's can't miss presentation of the week. John Racanelli, chair of the Baseball Landmarks Committee, will be with us to discuss his group's work. This is going to be a very, very interesting presentation, and you do not want to miss it. The sign-up link is included in the meeting booklet that was included in the Monday message, and it's posted in the SABR event calendar at sabr.org/events. And finally, if you're a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our uploads. And if you're not yet a member, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research communities, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to collect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org/join today. Herm Krabbenhoft, oh my goodness, you are amazing. Thank you very, very much for doing this for us.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
We will see.
Thank everybody for coming.
You betcha. We're going to see everybody Wednesday night. Let's get everybody out of here.
Super. Thank you. Good night, everybody.